This is a systematic observation that I completed recently, and I just wanted to let you see what this looks like, and then to go over some of the fine points of it. You can see right here I put in a piece of paper over the name, so you can't see um, who's the name of the child that I was doing this. So there's 14 in the class. I have that here. Of that, 9 of them were males, 5 of them were females. So remember, each one of these represents 10 seconds. This is the child I was observing, and then these were same-sex peers. So each one of these, as I went to each 10-second interval, I was watching a different child. So when I first walked in, I've got notes of what they were doing. They were doing a spelling activity where the teacher had put shaving cream on the desk, and they were writing their spelling words in the shaving cream. This was a first grade class. This right here, these are just some notes that the teacher had said, look at my finger. It says he never followed the directions. Now, once we got down here, you can see, okay, OT means off task. Let's jump to the bottom of this page real quick. Okay, so here's what all this means. Okay, plus, if you circle a plus on here, it means he was on task, doing what he was supposed to do. Noise, or N is noise, and so you can read this, any sounds that which would distract another child or from the teacher, or the teacher. OP is out of place. PC, physical contact. OT, off task, and this is just general off task behavior. And then here's V1, V2, where you can identify specific variables that you would want to be watching for. So you can see as I did this, right here, this is a little arrow up. It means it's an increase in following directions. He's working on his spelling words. The word her, he did it and then erased it to play in the shaving cream, and the teacher she was talking to someone else, and she turned around and she thought he had not done the activity at all. And so she redirected him to write the word, and he'd actually already done it again. So you can see just in looking here that, if you look at this interval right here, this little guy's on task a lot more than the peers were. And granted, they're doing an activity where they're playing in shaving cream, so you're going to see a little bit more activity and a little more. You may see a more off-task behavior just because of the nature of the activity. So now the teacher, they're cleaning up, and the teacher tells them it's quiet time. She wants them to sit at their desk as she starts cleaning up. And you see that he did pretty well right here. We got this little guy who was doing something with another student. There's noise. As we move on, right here, he's talking to the boy next to him. But during this process over here, although it's not noted, this is where you can see lots of talking. The teacher did not ever redirect the kids, so it appeared that, talking was going to be okay. And she was going through all of the kids and cleaning up their desk, and this little guy was one of the last ones. So he had, after they got their desk cleaned, they were able to take a book and go over and sit on the rug. And so he was one of the last ones, one of the last 2 that had to sit in his desk. So the expectations of sitting still were a little bit more than the other kiddos. So at this point, return to seats, I think. He came over and talked to me, and he was unaware that the rest of the class was on the rug. But then when the music started, they were doing a little transition activity, and when the music started, he went over and joined them immediately. So in the first part of this transition activity, it's a rote little song thing that they do all the time. And so they're supposed to spin around one time and do some other motions, and then they spin around and do motions. Well, he started spinning around, just kept spinning around the whole time. And then he did kind of, as he was more active than the others, but at no point did the teacher redirect him um, during the beginning of it. Toward the end, she did um, redirect him, and once she redirected him, he responded immediately. So at one point, he stopped and was kind of looking out the window. So during this active period of time, he was probably more off task and more active than the other kids. Then they go back to their desk for grammar and look at the change that you see here. I mean, he's on task. Other kids are more off task. So, and so this was through the grammar lesson. So then what you do is you go through and you count up each column. So there were 70 pluses, there were 11 ins, there were 0 out of place, 1 physical contact, and he really didn't touch the child. He reached over and wrote, the kid next to him, he wrote on his desk in the shading cream that was there, and then general off-task behavior. And so then you do the same thing for the peers. So you see on this one, and this was a pretty unusual thing, he was actually on task more than his peers were. There were a couple of kids in the room that had far more issues with attention than he did. I was not necessarily observing this child for attention issues. We're seeing some anxiety, and we're seeing a little bit of maybe the beginning of some OCD type behaviors. But I had the teacher and the parents complete a BASC, which is a behavioral assessment scale for children. And on that, there were several of the things that indicated at risk for attention. So I wanted to go in and watch and rule this out. So this is what this looks like. Now you're going to get to do this on your own. I want you to pick a child at your school. If you're not at a school, if you don't know someplace to go and observe, let me know, and I'll work with you to find a place that you can do that. And then that'll be one of your assignments for this, is to complete this and to add the total, and then to just write a brief description or brief reflection on what the process was like for you. And I'll put all that in the notes to the assignment. Okay.